Hey fam, it's Rindo and welcome to another Kano video. Now, today's video, Rindo, what are we gonna talk about this time in Kano? Well, in the anime, the second episode specifically, there is a wide shot scene, shot essentially, that showcases or that shows essentially the entire top view, right, of the school that they're in, Ohananomitsu High, right? And from this shot, right, from watching this scene over and over again, or from my countless rewatches of this entire series, right, it began to dawn on me, right, where is Momoha's tent? Okay, right, yeah, being the Momoha fan that I am also curious to see where her place is, right, in the anime. And thankfully enough, thanks to this very shot, that sort of gave me an idea like, hey, yeah, where is Momoha's place, right, or her tent essentially. And that is what I want to go over there, not only towards just finding where she is, right, but I also wanted to go over the many places or the specific scenes and show you the places, right, that are also in relation or referenced in or throughout the manga, right, in the future. So with that being said, this video is going to be spoiler heavy, right? I'm going to be referencing or mentioning scenes and events that would happen in the manga that may soon rather happen in the anime as well in the coming of the second season, right? And I also want to mention this as well, fam, I understand for the fact as well that perhaps this is not the sort of final I guess perspective on the entire school, because again, throughout the manga, right, and you know, just everything about it, there's a lot of things can really expand, right? Things can expand, and there's no way to fully determine the entire scope of just how massive this school can be. A year ago, right, 2022 November 2022, I made a video covering about Ohananomitsu High, the facilities that it has currently, or during that time at least, and the faculty members that it has, right? And wow, a year since then until now, and to this day, right, we already have the anime adaptation that came out last year in the last season. So I want to go over what sort of similarities can we find, and I'm really happy to say as well that yeah, a lot of it also kind of sticks true, right, and it also does check out with that of the manga. But either way, you know, this is just me over analyzing things and just, you know, connecting some dots here and there. I may or may not be wrong, you know. But with that being said, let's just start off right away now. Exhibit A, right? First and foremost, this is the most famous part essentially of the school and most seen part of the school, which is the rooftop where the family essentially gathers around to have all of these sorts of activities and such, where they have lunch together and just spend time together. Another point or exhibit that I wanted to, exhibit A1 essentially, that I want to go over is this courtyard area right here, where you can find these sort of, like, you know, the benches around, some trees here and there. And essentially this is the this part of the school is where characters would interact with Rentaro, right? For instance, it also has the pink clover field, for instance, as well, right? Where where Hakari and Karane met Rentaro, or they got to talk with Rentaro even more. All of these characters essentially had this sort of engagement or place of engagement where they just sat at a bench and they just talked with each other. And I believe this is the spot where they did so. Exhibit B, the gymnasium. Now, this is the place essentially where general assemblies are held, as well as, of course, gym. There's going to be basketball courts and such, and those volleyball fields, volleyball court and such, right? So yeah, pretty simple, pretty easy. And correct me if I'm wrong, right? But of course, with this stage, or with this area where there's a general assembly, there is going to be a stage, a stage, and the stage not only is being used for general assembly meetings and such, right, but also for, let's say, the musical plays, for instance, right, which is similar to that of what happened with Mimimi and the musical club, right? So there's that. Exhibit C, right? Beside that building is a sort of, you know, it's a building which I'm just basing off on pure speculation, fam, right? And again, this is just my own hypothesis, right? I could or could not be wrong, right, on this, but this is the building where I think it is where the Kendo Club is. The Kendo Club that Kishika is a part of, where she does her practices and such. And at least what led me to this conclusion is just the tiny details that I could find as much as I can from Kishika's debut chapter, right? And yeah, that's essentially what I just concluded it to, right? Again, I could be wrong on this. Now, another beside that sort of building rather, right, is this swimming pool area, right, where, well, hence the, it makes sense because Shizuka and Rentaro, they both showcase or mention rather that they both of them have worn their school issued swimsuits. So yeah, of course, in a school, you're really gonna have a swimsuit, and of course use it on this pool for whatever PE activities that they have. Now, next exhibit D, the track and field, well, track or court essentially, right? And this right next to it is the baseball or softball field, correct me if I'm wrong, right? But yeah, baseball field, where of course it's in relation with Iku, right? Now, exhibit E, the tennis court. It's the tennis court where Rentaro met Momiji. I guess I believe so. It kind of matches that, right? But the building close to it, fam, right? I would assume that this is the sort of sports club building, such as a building for the soccer, baseball, and tennis clubs, right? And from the manga, these buildings are 2 stories high, which is, based on their height, I guess that may or may not be the case. And it's also a place where they would store their equipment, right? A storage house. Now, on this part, I really wanted to stress, because Exhibit D, this is a sort of another building similar to that looks like a storehouse, a storage unit, right? Right beside the parking lot. This kind of looks like the storehouse where it's in reference to when we saw Kiki, or during Kiki's debut chapter, we get to see this part of the building that seems like it could be a restroom, right? And that's of course when we saw Kiki. Now I'm still really trying to figure out on which is which, right? Because another thing as well that these both have in common is that the storage house, alright, or the place where we essentially met Kiki, the bathroom rather, is really close by to a fence. And if you take a look at both of these places, they are both close to fences. So again, either of these could really be the storage house for the sports clubs are, or it could be the storage house of which it's similar to that of Kiki's debut area. Again, I could be wrong, but I'm just speculating here and there and giving my own hypothesis and take on this, right? Before going to the next portion, right, I wanted to talk a bit about the junior division, right? The school where we have Chiyo, Momiji, Uto, Rin, and such, right? So, in this school, in Ohananomitsu High, there is both a high school and even middle school side, and even college side, I would say as well, with Eira, right? Now, the high school has a quote-unquote middle school side or building or department, right? Of which I am not so completely sure about this part, on whether it checks out or not, but perhaps this part, Exhibit E, this part of the school on the other side makes sense to be the middle school side, right? Because it is much closer. And again, maybe we can find out more with the coming of the second season of the anime. We can probably get a good grasp and more idea about the entire area of the school, right? So yeah, that being said, I'm really excited for that, right? The second season. Again, does make sense that this area would be the middle school side. But if you take a look at the opposite side of the road, right, there is also an entire campus as well, right? Now, I don't know if this is normal to have 2 schools close to each other. Well, I guess, yeah, in one way or another, but not that really close, right? Like, it's literally just about a road apart, right? And I do want to imagine that this is indeed a school because it also has similar facilities as the ones that I've described earlier as well, right? So, could that side or that campus be the middle school side of Ohananomitsu High, right? Because if that were the case, and this is just hypothetical, right? If that were the case, then that would mean that the entire middle school gang, right, would have to go all the way from their classrooms over there to the rooftop every single time, every lunchtime, and essentially every time where they gather around. And okay, well, I'm not so sure on that part as well, because for one, it would be so much of a hassle. But I also want to believe that there are also other activities as well where we would see middle school girlfriends and even girlfriends in the high school department, get along together or share a sort of similar area where both of them are within the same place, right? Kiki and Uto, for example, right, in that one chapter. And then again, I'm not really also too sure on the specifications of it all. A manga theory, so to speak, a Hyakuno theory. Some honorable mentions that as I look around this entire screenshot, right, there's this area that looks like a field where the public sports festival took place in the sports festival art. There's also this other wide shot scene, right, where we see this bridge and there's a river and riverside, right, which could possibly maybe be the same place where Rentaro found out about Kishika's secret. Now, Exhibit F, family. Now, this area of the school is perhaps where the gardening club is. For one, in the manga, within the manga, you can see the hints of, fences within the background, similar to that of the fences that's surrounding the tennis fields, right? And even the baseball court, rather. Sorry. Now, within that, with that sort of deduction, right? Possibly we can conclude that this is the gardening club area or the greenhouse as well, right? Now, this building right here, again, may or may not be the greenhouse, but that there's also a patch of land which you can see right there as well, for maybe it could be a spot or the spot as well to grow some form of vegetables as well, right? That is part of the field, I guess, right? Now, with this theory in mind, right, let's try to look for a corner, because Rentaro mentioned that that Momoha's tent, rather, is somewhere within the corner of the school yard or the school garden, right? Or essentially, it is somewhere really close to that of the field or the gardening club, right? Because Momoha is the gardening club's advisor, so that can also make sense, I guess, in one way or another, why she also lives really close to that area, right? So, with that in mind, it could really be either one of these two spots right here, right? But my strongest guess as to which area would Momoha most likely be in, right? Which corner she would live in, is this part right here in this area, because it seemed like it has the most grass, right? Because it's where Momoha could also pass out on, right? We get to see Momoha, squat and do all of these sort of camping-like activities here. So on this spot, something also quite close to the building in one way or another could possibly also be the area where she, lives in, right? And again, I'm really not so sure as well if this is right or wrong. This is all just a theory of mine that I just cooked up with because I just had a thought and I just overthink of it, and I went and made this video. But it was also really insightful as well to understand fully the entire scope of this school and what it would really look like within the anime when it's especially drawn in this style. It's something that I'm really happy to see as well. I really love it, But anyway, I'm excited for the second season. Can't wait to find out and figure out more about this, With that being said, thank you for listening, family, and take care.